we lost EMC today. He's he's just not going to be here today, but he'll be back. Missing in action, MIA. We had a lot of serious rain, so we had to deal with that. So we're still Facebook Live, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tell Facebook that we didn't do a live show today. This is going to be a recording, and that they're going to be privy to our classroom. So your Q&A is the class today. I'm not going to have EMC here to, so whatever you guys want to talk about, that's what we're going to do, and I'm here with you for a while. So whatever you'd like to do, very nice. All right. There goes one Mrs. Faye. Okay, so a little different today. Our equipment's not exactly what we needed, but we do have enough to let anybody know that they have this bare minimum of equipment that they can have a class at their facility or at their house as well. And so we're hoping that the level of education we talk about today during the show will encourage some of them to want to be part of what we're doing, either in your town or somebody else's town. So one of the things I wanted to start out with today is just kind of talking about your basic H kata. And the other day I talked about the hand open and then closing the hand. Everybody's trying that a little bit. Okay. You got to be careful not to break your fingers. They're obviously, something that you can hurt. And so, okay. So if I got your attention, most of you do the H pattern, Jodan, Chudan, and Gedan. Okay, so we talked about the weight shift, and then I talked about picking the foot up and coming to this posture, and then I talked about you can either do a Jodan, a Chudan, or Gedan was in that H pattern. I also talked about whipping the hand so that when your hands are open, if you decide to go to a Gedan move, that as this hand is moving through the air, it's closing. I also mentioned that there's as much power on this one as there is on this one. As there is on this one. As there is on this one. They're all equal. One of the things we talked about getting yourself more involved with it was to control your breathing. So this inhaling, and then you see the target, and you're looking at it, and you say, okay, this is going to be a chewed-on move, and so maybe I had to do something, and then that move. That's why we have that little hand check formula. If you're a very brand new student, and there's a lot of new people watching, they don't understand that there's movements that are in here that unless some teacher tells you, you're never going to know what they are. You understand that? And so we want to, that's pretty important. So we want to bring everybody around because we're not a competitive school like that. We're competitive maybe in making our lives better. That might be what we're nature of. But I wanted you to learn how to do that weight shift. I also mentioned that there's people who study Chinese styles, and you'll see them, they'll kind of loop up, and then all of a sudden, man, there's an explosion. Just watch their hands. They're open and they're closed. They're open and they're closed. And when I first started teaching in '96, a lot of folks said, why do you teach the way you do? And I said, well, it's not that I can help you become a superstar, but the fact of the matter is that when you go out in public, let's hope that whatever you learned at the school you're in doesn't embarrass you when you go someplace else. So the idea of educating, I don't think there's a good educator out there that wants their people to do poorly. And so I know I go over the basics a lot, and you say, man, we want to learn a fantastic kata. H pattern is a fantastic kata. You'll do it forever because you can add everything to it. Now, if you like the Mui brand, I mentioned that. You're still doing the weight shift, and you still have that same basic assault that you're going to enter with. You still have to comprehend the concept that somebody's trying to hit you. So this idea of having a little stuff in your movement really starts becoming more important. So you beginners, remember, start with the first step. Get out of the way. Focus on your target, and then what hand position am I going to use? You're only as good as what your sensei has taught you. So if you only know Seiken, well, guess what? That's what you're going to have to work with. But once you learn Shuto and Nugite and Keisho and hammer fist and elbow strike, then that all is in this kata. We talked about raising the foot, putting the foot down. I talked about hitting on the toe. I talked about sometimes you can position the leg so that it looks like you're actually hitting with the elbow and knocking somebody over. So then stance became pretty important in this form. So not only did I tell you to get out of the way, I mentioned to you that when you put this foot down, you have to create a perfect posture so that you can explode from. Right? That was the first thing we talked about. Second thing is you don't want to stand in front of the train. And so when you start learning how to body posture, and Dalton, you know, you were working with Chuck the other day, and I had you get him in this position, right?
Aye.
Well, if you took all of yourself and went that way, that's where Chuck's leg's going.
Aye.
Then you get the luxury of Jodan, Chudan, Gedan, Barai.
Aye.
Right? Okay, now some of you do kicks. And in an earlier video, you saw me do the step, look, what hand position am I going to use? What could I possibly do with this leg? Front snap, side, set it, stomp. So there's a lot you can add to this particular form. All right, then the next thing we did when we talked about that, I said, okay, now you're already engaged. Either Chudan or Gedan or Jodan, it doesn't matter. But that particular format, when you did the shift and you moved into this posture or this one or that one, that was either an inside or an outside technique.
Aye.
So if somebody punching at you this way and you're on here, or you're out here. So the ancients, when they developed this kata, and everybody uses this thing, what they don't do is all the stuff you can add to it. Here comes your Aikido lesson for the day. Okay? So, you know, when I learned this in Shorin-ryu Karate, nobody mentioned Aikido. They just said, you know, you got to get turned around. Well then, after 4 years of Aikido, I'm going to tell you what, when those guys get a hold of you, or a good judo or jiu-jitsu guy, when after they popped you, and they decide they're going to, let me tell you, there's 64 moves in judo, and every one of them will work from here. Every one of them, we got jiu-jitsu guys that'll walk up you, spin your head right off your shoulders, right from here. So the first, so I never want anybody to second guess what you can do in a basic kata. But my goal is that if you spend enough time in basics, that by the time you saw the fancy